Hi, this is part two, or the second half of a short talk on enlightenment, awakening, realization, and all the different facets, spaces that we travel through on our journey here on the earth in this life and other lifetimes as well. And the journey, as we said before, is always toward the center. So as a follow-up, because I received a question about this after the first video, is as a follow-up, what does that realization then look like from the outside or the inside? Does a self-realized person know that that something has shifted, changed? Would they call themselves realized? What does someone who is not perhaps look like as well? So, and can we tell? Can we tell those things just by looking at someone? So those are all great questions. So if you've been in the company before of someone who is a realized being, there are some differences that you would notice. And there's an innocence to it, a kind of a lightness of being. You would not normally see these people overly burdened by life, although they have deep compassion for our world, for the kingdoms and elements and all the things that are happening with nature, animals, plants, people, abuses, things like that. There's a very deep and abiding compassion for that, but not in that burdened way where we would say, what are we going to do about that? How are we going to stop those people? How are we going to stop this from happening? So it's a very active, intelligent, wise, and compassionate way of encountering whatever the subject or the person is, of meeting life wherever life is. So that I would say first. What else would we notice about someone? There is an undefended quality about the personality. There's a straightforward way in which they would look at us, looking at us directly in the eye without looking away, with a very soft, compassionate look as well. So it's not that hard, what's going on with you today, or what are you up to? It's not that kind of a way. It's more of a diffused way of being. And at the same time, it's very present. It's very present. So this person would not be recreating their agenda for the afternoon, or looking at their appointment book or their watch. They would be engaged with you. You would be in the forefront, and whatever else would be taken care of when it's taken care of. So there's less of an attention on time, and time seems to kind of work itself out. There's less of a rushing here and there. There's more of a, it'll work out. I don't know why. I'm hoping we're not late, but it'll work out. And chances are it almost does every time. There's a way to say, I hope we get a plane ticket. I heard it was sold out. But at the same time, there's this quiet, hoping confidence that it will work out. So it's just a different way of relating to life. There's a little bit more certainty within the uncertainties of life, without any guarantees, without any expectations, just a knowingness that somehow it's going to work out. So those are some things that we might notice. And because they are noticeable things, we want to be in the company of these individuals. It feels good. We want to be in their company. Somehow it feels like our life is going just a little bit better because theirs is going a little bit better. There's this feeling that like we're included in that improved way. We are somehow uplifted because they are uplifted a little bit. There's a natural curiosity about things. There's less of a significance, less attention placed on the story of our life. Oh, I did this in my 20s, and then I did that when I was in my 30s, and I had this horrible thing happen to me, but I overcame it. And less of that investiture in the stories that we tell ourselves about what is real, or what we are, or how we came to be, or less ways of defining ourselves by what we do. I am who I am because of who I've been, because of where I lived, because of the jobs that I had. So there's less of that. And these things are, for the most part, noticeable enough. Sometimes we notice things because of the absence of what we are seeing or not seeing with these individuals. And we like these qualities as well. So if you were to ask that person, are you a self-realized being? They would more than likely laugh a little bit. Sometimes there would be a slight nod, you know, tiny little acknowledgement. It's not something that that's often talked about. It's not an acknowledgement that places someone above or beyond the reach of anyone else. Oh yeah, I was, enlightened in whatever, 1983, whatever it is. It's not that. It is more of a quiet acknowledgement that there was a shift in life, that there was movement from thinking very much about I and we and how and what and when into a presence, into a place that is just a little bit more present in the now. And so there is an acknowledgement. Sometimes you'll hear, a short story that goes with it. Yeah, I used to be this way and that way, and I saw that that wasn't working for me. And I knew that if I didn't do something to change, that I wasn't going to be able to go on that way very much longer. So without going into deep, deep stories, a lot of the time you will hear something and you'll be able to draw some parallels and comparisons to your own life and wonder what you might do under the same circumstances. So it is a quiet acknowledgement of a shift having taken place. A self-realized being has touched the center, has touched a deeper center of life, of being. And it is not enlightenment, nor would they say that it is, but it is a deeper, more centered place. There is less I, ego, I'm going to do this, I'm going there, this is my next project. It is still very present, very active, but at the same time, there is more of a worldwide awareness that when things work out for you, they work out for everyone as well. So that's a little bit better description. I hope that answers that a little bit. And maybe you can reflect in your own life and see who you know or have known or come across that you might think that about them. The other part of that question is, what do at times people who are not quite realized but think of themselves that way, can we tell that? And again, there are signs that we can look for. There are acknowledgements that we can see. And, it's easy to draw into our mind this boastful person with a huge ego who thinks they're this and that or have accomplished a lot of different things. And sometimes it's a lot more subtle than that. Sometimes it's not that. Those people are obviously easy to spot, and it's easy for us to put up our hands and say, this is not my teacher, or, I have a different direction that I'm going in, and to steer clear. But sometimes it's a lot more subtle than that. So there are people who are in some ways realized, and yet there's something that would say to you that somehow they skipped a subject, or they skipped a step, or they seem so very adept at this one thing, but not so adept at something else. And that would make you think a little bit, just it would give you pause a little bit. And especially if you hear someone say that, yes, I am a self-realized being, I am a self-realized teacher. And when you hear people say that, the I will sound just sharp. Like when you hear something that's a little bit out of tune, you hear a piano that's a little bit out of tune, or a song that's just not at the right pitch, you'll just feel that. You'll just feel, I just have this person, feel that this person is not quite there yet. And so there is that feeling when it's a little bit more subtle. Sometimes there is also someone who might know a lot. So they have a lot of knowledge, they're well studied, they're well read, and they're well traveled. And they may even drop a few names of who they traveled with or who they've been on a speaker circuit with and different things. And there is a little bit of a leap that they make along with that, kind of like this way of including some of what they know along with some other teachings that are not necessarily theirs for them to claim. So it's a little bit of ego, if you want to call it that, a little bit of a leap of faith, perhaps. It's very subtle in some people. It may or may not matter to you. Just, this is the subject for today, what we're talking about. And then there's some people as well that they are, you know, that warmth that we were talking about before with the self-realized people. There are people that come across in a very charismatic way. Their personality is caring and charismatic, and they're connecting with you. And you feel that they get you. And the subject that they're talking about is very timely and very interesting, and they're on point and on message. And so that charisma that they carry, however, is more linked with their personality. It's more linked with the day-to-day interactive personhood that they are, rather than with an introspective naturalness about them. So sometimes these things are loud and brash and you notice them right away. And sometimes it takes a few visits or a few seminars or the second or third book or something before you recognize that maybe it's not quite everything that you had hoped or thought that it would be. The charismatic people, they are on point, as I said, well rehearsed, sharp, shiny, well managed in some cases, and it's not to say that we can't learn from them. We can learn a lot. We can learn a lot, and there are people that have a great deal of knowledge to share. But we have to be careful if we're talking about knowledge or a particular subject, that is what we want from this person. We want to be informed. We want the knowledge that they hold. We want to know how to apply that knowledge in our own life, how to use it, what it looks like. But at the same time, we want to be careful that not to follow this person to their center. We're looking for our center. We're looking for our own realization. We're looking for mysteries to unfold for us. We're looking for our own discoveries. We're looking for our essential self. And all of these things are as available to us as they have been to any other being or teacher now or at any other point in history. So we need as well to have that faith in ourselves that our journey is the right one for us, that what we are learning and experiencing and studying and discovering and sharing with others, that it is right for us as well, and that we also know and have grown a lot. So when we compare ourselves, which we don't really need to do, compare yourself with your own wisdom. Compare yourself with how much you have grown over the last weeks or months or years. Look at your own journey and don't look necessarily at how far there is to go or what you imagine is this great distance. Distance is very arbitrary and imaginary. We can cover great distances with our thoughts and with our explorations. So instead, we can look at where we've come, where we are, how we hold ourselves ethically, morally, spiritually, and with our friends, with our family, and that is a very, very good place to be. So, part 2 complete. See you next time. Bye-bye.